All right, here we go. Good afternoon. Happy Monday. We're coming off of a road game that required all our effort. Really proud of the way the guys played, the way the coaches coached, the resilience it took to get that win on the road. But we've moved on here, and we got another huge challenge in front of us, a division game in a division that's really tight right now. And so it's one game at a time, and working to be diligent with our time to make sure that we can put our best foot forward with our plan and our preparation throughout the course of this week. So with that being said, we'll take some questions.
And you guys are one win away from bowl eligibility. I mean, how important is that to this program?
To be honest, I didn't focus on that. I haven't really thought about that. Focus on our goal, which is to be 1-0 each and every week, and what it takes to do that, to keep building off of the things that we've built our momentum off of, the things that we got to continue to get better at in all phases of the program, not just on the field. So obviously for every program in America, I mean, that's a goal, is to be bowl eligible. That is a big piece of our goal, but to get to that point, it's being 1-0 each and every week and being diligent with the process to get that done.
Defensively, I mean, you've been around a lot of good defenses in your career as a player and as an assistant coach, coordinator, all the way up. I mean, where's this defense ranked for you?
Yeah, we've been at times this year. The defense has been really, really stout. We've been able to develop some players, and the guys that we do have as people are very intelligent. They're very relentless. Our players, we do have an older group right now, and that always helps, that experience that comes along with that. And we do got some talented players, and more importantly, we're just proud of how they work each and every week, how consistent they are. That's what it takes, because talent's talent. Having experience is one thing, but using it is another. And again, this week, it's going to require us to be our best. Each and every week it does. We've seen in college football that you can be one defense one week and be another the next, if not handled properly.
It still seems like Talon is getting more comfortable with each week in terms of throwing the ball. How can you guys as coaches kind of help him take that next jump and really start connecting on more throws?
Well, he was more productive last week from a production standpoint. And it's, this is playing college quarterback is a process. And again, like we said, every opportunity he gets to go out there, whether it be in practice and or doing it in a game when it is obviously a little bit different, that's an experience for him to learn and grow from. Setting goals and clear objectives for him to continue to grow each and every week is a big part of it. And that's a football season all around. I mean, that's for everybody on the roster. As you progress into the middle of the season, you get down into being 3/4 of the way into the season. Every football team wants to keep growing at all positions. I mean, that's the name of the game. And we would only hope that we can continue to do so, again, by setting clear objectives, both in the meeting room, from our game plan to the practice field, and achieving those on game day.
What does that mean, setting clear objectives? Like, is there an example of like what that looks like?
I mean, everything from basic fundamentals and techniques, and our drops, our progressions, different concepts. I mean, there's a lot of different concepts that we are building into our offense, and again, to do them all right at one time, that's very difficult. So as coach continues to build on to the things that we're able to do well, that takes more and more work.
When you break it down through your eyes and through Dirk's eyes, it sounds like that there was a big emphasis during the bye week to make him better as a passer. Where did he get better as a passer on Saturday?
Well, I mean, there was a couple drop back passes that were good examples. I mean, even the one that went as an interception, we were a little late on that throw, but the progression and him obviously hitting that seam ball to Steph. Again, he was a little late on that throw, which allowed the DB to make a really good play on it. But just even the things like that where we're just maybe a little bit off, continuing to build on it and finding confidence that we can do it, just need to be quicker with that decision making.
Would you like to see him in an ideal world run the ball more than 5 times, especially when RB1 and RB2 might be out?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And again, that comes down to us and making sure that we're very clear on certain play calls and what we're doing, what we're looking forward to seeing, and what we're really looking forward to getting out of it. And that will be a huge emphasis going forward, making sure that as we build the game plan, as everybody's asking what more, everybody wants more. Everybody wants more, but it's being able to be able to implement, get in the plan what we need, and do it really well.
How do things change when you lose people in the middle of the game? I mean, discussions on the coaching staff, change calls. I mean, every game it seems like somebody, 2 or 3 guys probably get out and don't return. So how does that change things as a game?
It is a game of personnel, right? They're the ones playing. So what we have in the plan, what personnel, that's where it comes together. Who are the guys that you want to get the ball in their hands? And that's football, and so as those things occur, again, that's always part of the game, and having a plan. Having a plan going into the game, and the different things that we're going to do if A, B, or C happens.
And it's, there was a while there in college football where teams were trying to go fast and run 80 plays a game, and for you guys it seems like 60 to 70 is the goal. And if you look at Colorado State, they're playing at a little bit of a slower pace at times too. Is that something that is a new wave through maybe the Mountain West or college football that you've noticed at all? And what does that do for your offense when possessions are going to be limited because of that?
Well, when you're building a game plan, it starts big picture wise. Last week, the amount of possessions we were going to get, we knew it was going to be lower than the average. But that's week to week. It depends on the matchup, the philosophy there. But I would say, there's still teams that are running tempo, probably more so situationally, or whether it's a clock situation is the obvious, but situationally within the game, down and distance wise, field position wise. There are still teams. Do we see in our conference a lot of teams that are just starting off and trying to go all the way down the field? Probably not as much as we have. We haven't faced those yet this year. Are there a couple in our conference that still have? Yes.
Where does Colorado State, I guess, lie in terms of that pace?
Yeah, so, traditionally this offense, being familiar that they're at Nevada before, they would use tempo. They've used tempo in different situations. They have the capability of going fast, but they've had some different quarterbacks that they've had to rotate through there. So probably not an ideal situation to run tempo. They do have their starter back, and it was their most productive game in the last game, and they're very capable again of using tempo.
What do they do
Defense?
best?
Say it again.
What do they do best?
Well, when
on
they
both sides of the ball.
So offensively, when they've been successful, and even in the past, they've run the ball really well. As we talk about all the time, football starts with running the ball, and when they've been successful this year, they've ran the ball for almost 200 yards a game, and what comes off of that is their pass game, that is, that they've developed over the course of time. Again, last week was one of their most successful weeks offensively, getting their quarterback back and getting in rhythm and things like that. So we'll have a huge challenge with that. Defensively, the last 3 games have been their best games. They've held their opponents to under 20 points a game. And, we're going to deal with some movements up front. And in the pre-snap, they do a good job disguising coverages between their post defenses and their middle of the field open defenses.
Back to the defense for a minute. Some teams are maybe good against the pass or good against the run. I guess talent's the easy answer in coaching, but why have you guys been able to be so good against both?
Well, number one, I think, too, as we talk about, it starts up front. To be good against the run, it starts with the defensive front. And then naturally, it creates good pictures. You got to win at the line of scrimmage. It creates good pictures for the fits from the linebacker level, the safety level, when the corners get in the fits. And then in the passing game, you got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And those are, for anybody playing defense, those are huge components of playing successful defense. And so, again, as we progress throughout the year, we got to continue to find ways that we can get better, because teams will adjust. Teams are going to have answers. The teams that we're going to play in this conference, they got really good coaches. They got good players. They're going to see the things that we've been able to do to help us be successful. We're going to work to take those things away.
What stands out to you about Derek Kern and kind of the mentality that he's been playing with? There was one play where he blocked a guy almost from the back of the end zone, and I think he picked up a foul at the end of the game there. But just what does he bring to that offensive line in terms of his mentality?
Yeah, the mentality, obviously, of the whole offense, the defense, and the special teams is, how you create that mentality is through confidence. You got to play this game. This is a physical game. You got to play with a certain mentality, and it's got to be a real mentality that you can execute your responsibilities, and that is only built through the proper preparation and training. And that's, it's even before you get to the practice field. It's even before you get to the meeting room. It's how you lift, how you train, how you get yourself in all those areas. He brings that same mentality. Whether we're running decks, we're lifting in the weight room, we're preparing in the meetings, and then obviously at practice. He likes to play the game a certain way, but we got to make sure, also that we're keeping it from the snap to the whistle, and making sure we're staying within the framework.
Red zone touchdowns. Are you seeing a consistent issue there, and how concerned are you?
Well, I think each and every week that's part of it too. Some of the things that we are doing on offense, and seeing now that we've been 3 games in with Coach Cutter and Talon, and seeing what are the teams doing in the red zone. What is the plan for the defenses down there? It creates a clear picture of more so what the defense is giving us. And so where we grow forward based off of the last 3 games will obviously be huge for us to increase the red zone touchdown ratio.
It's kind of along those lines. You look at some of your biggest wins the last 2 years, and maybe you have had struggles in the red zone, but Jonah Dalmas he's been massive in some of your big wins over the last couple of years. How much of a luxury is it to have a guy like him, and how confident do you feel when you send him on the field? Because George Tarlas said something like he calls him automatic or something.
Well, I know this. I mean, to have a field goal kicker like Jonah is huge. That he is very consistent in his approach every single day, how he approaches practice and all those things. Obviously, the other 10 guys on the field, from the snapper, the holder, the blocker, and all those guys being on point so that Jonah can do what he does is a huge part of it, and that's where we see it all come together. So, it was nice to see him. He hit that 51-yarder the other night. That was huge. Again, points on the board is points on the board.
How much confidence does that give you to know that? 51, that's no joke, obviously, at the college level. So how much confidence is that giving you that you can test him at that far? It was good for.
Yeah, and there was plenty of room on it too. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Again, that is just like any other position on the team, especially at a specialty position like that, knowing that you got a guy that is consistent. And the men he's working with on that field goal team are consistent. What brings with that is, that field goal protection team takes on a lot of heat every week too, because teams are preparing, knowing that we have a good field goal kicker.
How much does it come into play, maybe the confidence in your defense, knowing what position you put them in? And do you have a target number for how confident you are in Jonas in that type of situation?
In terms of his range?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it varies just slightly depending on. Last week we were in altitude, right? We were playing a little bit of altitude there, wind, all those things. But as a baseline, where we want to be at as a program is that, the 35 is, our baseline always. We've got to recruit to that. We got to develop to that. That's just a program emphasis. And then depending on the environment of the game, where we're at, the elements of the game, where does it go from there? Again, wind, altitude, all those things.
With Spencer Danielson, I know he had been kind of the co-DC before, but you kind of gave him the opportunity to be his first, full-time DC gig here, and obviously you saw a lot in him. I mean, you look at what he's done to this point and leading this defense now. How impressive has he been?
Yeah, I mean, the leadership that goes into it is everything. It's the organization is where it always starts, and as we talked about, creating that mentality through the hard work that it takes, in the offseason to build a foundation of a defense, to make sure that we're fundamentally sound in all areas, all levels of our defense. There's a lot of work that goes into that. Needless to say, the work that goes in week to week to make sure that our process is the very best to give our guys a shot to be the best they can. He's done a really good job.
Whether it's in the red zone or on 4th down, the defense has come up with some huge stops this year. What does this say about that group to be able to step up in such a big situation?
Yeah, it goes right back into what we're talking about. It starts with how they're trained and the mentality of it. Knowing that in the course of the year, at any given time, we're going to be, as a defense, we're going to be put in those situations. And it comes down to all the training throughout the course of the year. Last week was a great example of that. And again, that's an every week deal. You know, there's new objectives every single week. There's a certain process that you got to handle each and every week to play your best in any phase of the game. But there's new objectives, and what are those objectives? What is the personnel that you're facing? What are the different schematic and tactical things that you got to handle, and all those things? And then obviously the DNA of what we do. How does it fit towards that? How are we going to make it come together?
You mentioned that you got an experienced group on defense. I mean, whether it be Zeke or Tyreek or Caleb or George, I mean, you got a lot of 6-year guys. How has that helped you guys?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's nothing like that game experience from year to year. And even, you know, guys like Caleb is way different than he was in his first year. He came on really last year, middle half to the end of the year, but even much so this year, just where he is at, and all the things that we're talking about that go into it, that play into this up until game day, his process and how he handles things. You know, that experience is not only in game time, but how you get ready for the game time.
1 through 11 on your defense. Have you ever had a group of guys that has tackled as well as consistently as you guys have?
No, I mean, it is tackle football, and is talk about the schemes and everything else, and whatever team we're playing, you know, what are they doing? Yeah, there's always those challenges, but it is tackle football, and to be able to spend the time on the basic fundamentals of the game, and not being concerned with taking away from the big picture scheme stuff so that you can be a good tackling team is something that we always have to remind ourselves of. And it's not just defense, it's special teams too, and making sure that the whole team can tackle well. The offensive players are going to play on special teams. So that's a big piece of this game.
Do you expect George and Ashton to practice this week?
Next question.
Tyreek Jones has been one of your most aggressive tacklers this
Yeah.
year. How important is that aggression in that nickel position?
I mean, that's why, you know, going back to the summertime and sliding T. Jones to that nickel position, not only the other things he can do from a coverage standpoint, whether it be man's zones, but, you know, at that nickel position, you got to be able to play in the run game. You got to be able to blitz. You got to be able to tackle. And at that position, when that guy can do all those things, it allows you, you know, to play the book and to be multiple on defense, not just schematically, but like what we're talking about fundamentally. And he had a really good game. Ty Jones had a really, really good game. And we saw him start fast. And again, new challenge this week, but all the same things from that position that are going to come up.
Much does, he made the first play -5, and he was on the tackle on the second play, I think it was like a -2. How much does that first or second play like set tones for later?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of the game. Starting fast is always, I mean, it's momentum creators. You know, that first drive, you know, on either side of the ball and how you're executing on specialties, those are huge deals for momentum. And, you know, that happens too. Like we were talking about after the game, just our scout team and the looks we get from them. How close can that be to you know, what it's going to look like on game day? And that's a huge part too, as we talk about, you know, some of the things that the defense is doing. Well, our scout team O-line this year, our scout team, you know, is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. We got some guys on the scout team that, you know, that are going to be really good players for us here, and their development even from a month ago to where they're at right now is huge for us in our preparation every single week. And so that leads to, you know, if the looks we're getting in practice and the speed of it and the correct looks allows us to start faster. And that's no different, obviously, for the defensive scout team and what they're working to do for the offense every week.
We asked you about, I'll let him know after the game, but I mean, I'm not sure anybody could have ever envisioned him getting 17 carries in a game this year. But for him to come up and be ready in the second half, what kind of luxury was it to have a guy like that on the bench?
Yeah, and that's to what we're talking about right now, just the overall development in the program. Maybe some of the guys that we don't see all the time that aren't getting the carries or the catches, but behind the scenes they're developing, whether it's them helping the team get prepared on scout team or maybe they are getting some reps but not a ton in the game. And, he's gotten throughout the course of the weeks leading up to this point, he does in practice. I mean, he gets reps, a fair amount of reps with the offense, playing running back, obviously. And it was just this week, due to some circumstances personnel-wise, where his number got called. And it was awesome to see him respond, not only carrying the ball, but, catching the ball as well, and what he's done on special teams.
And I think you probably would have liked the little more yards, like 54 yards or something. But just in general, being able to be out there 17 carries. I mean, if you have to have another game with him and Crow and Caden Deadly, leading the way, I mean, are you confident in those 3, 4, 5 guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, that's football. And at this point of the year, everybody is, it's, again, we talked about it's a physical game. And so being able to build the depth, within the backfield, both lines, all the positions, that's a huge part. Can you believe it? We're almost to, Halloween. We're almost to Halloween. That's a lot of time for a lot of guys that for 2 months of the season, 3 months counting fall camp for guys to develop behind the scenes. So, just like we were talking about with Caleb last year, Caleb emerged, somewhere along this point last year in the middle of the season, and obviously grew forward through the end of the year. And that's what we're hoping to see, not only, in the backfield, but at other positions as well.
Do you notice any, similarities personality-wise between Zeke and Elian? I mean, we asked Zeke about his brother after the game, and just being a part of this program, it almost seemed like he's moved to tears. So have you noticed it, how Zeke influences his little brother at all?
Yeah, I mean, they're really close. That's a big part of, why Elian's here is they're extremely close. That family, the Noah family, is extremely close. And, I'm excited for Zeke from that standpoint, not to get into it too much, but I'm excited for Zeke to be able to be around his little brother, in his last year of playing college football, and for them to be around. And not only that, but, I mean, what Elian has done in this program, how he's grown himself in instantly and how he's taken. I mean, he's a guy that has a ton of humility. And, again, we saw him get more action on offense this week, but he's been on, all the special teams and is willing to do whatever it is for the team. And we're lucky to have him here.
What do you remember about recruiting DJ Schramm?
That was years ago. DJ's been here for a minute. I think one of the biggest things about DJ Schramm going all the way back to his high school days is just seeing how instinctive of a player he is. You can tell by his reactions on his high school film, both in the run game and the pass game, that he had great instincts. Football is a family business for him, so what comes with his football IQ within that, but then the toughness that comes with it too. And again, that was a long time ago, but it's awesome to see how he's continued to grow himself in all those areas and continue to develop and do what he's doing right now.
When you went back and looked at it, how did it end up where you had the 2 number 7s out there?
Just part of the personnel stuff with some of the things that happened injury-wise. And, again, that's on me, and I got to do a better job of making sure that we're squared away with the personnel that's going on the field in all phases of the game. We'll be better at that.
That scenario, Andy, where do you change personnel, or you just got to have that extra jersey ready to go or something?
Potentially both. If we want the best personnel on the field, then that's a situation where we got to grab a jersey and put it on one of the guys that's coming in the game if we want to keep the same personnel on the field.
Zeke was telling us you guys practice it that way. How does that slip through the cracks like that?
Well, there's an opportunity for different returners to be in the game, and one other returner went in the game, obviously, and put it that way.
I got one more about Elian. Way back when he first got here, he was kind of that late first day addition. And I remember somebody saying he had to get in the football shape and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how far is he? Did he have to make up ground? How far does he come in those regards?
Yeah, he was not in shape when he got here. He was not in shape when he got here. And again, that was part of the process throughout fall camp and early on in the season. He got in better shape and not only got in better shape, but then was able to take on more within his load of special teams, building him into the offense. which says a ton about his football IQ and his ability to learn. From the standpoint of, I mean, this is a guy that has experience playing the game, understands offenses, but it's learning a new language, right? I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much being done within the game. It's being able to connect schematics and put a new name to it, and he's been able to do that pretty quickly. It's pretty impressive.
You talk about guys coming in, you mentioned Caleb. Seems like George Carlos has been able to just jump right in and play at a really high level. So what has allowed him to be able to do that?
Yeah, so, I mean, George has been a big addition, and, you know, his hard work, he doesn't, you know, he wants to be the best he can. He came here to develop. When that situation arose, he said he wanted to come to Boise State because he wanted to develop himself as an edge player and learn how to play the game and learn how to play the game effectively and more efficiently. And that's what we've all worked to do. And he's put his heart into, you know, doing that work, learning, studying, and practicing hard.
Where do you think he was here in the spring, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think from the time he came here to now he's improved?
Yeah, it's way different. I mean, all the guys, but especially for a guy that's in his first semester in the program in the spring. But it just goes to show the development of the program, the plan for development, the coaches being able to develop guys. When you get a guy that comes in January and using that winter conditioning stuff and given the time we're able to use with them, not a lot, but being able to get guys developed, get that process started, get their feet wet in spring ball, they make a huge jump in the summertime into fall camp. And, you know, I'm talking about Cade too, right? Talking about Cade. Cade's a big part of that, and that's something that we were confident in our plan of development when we get those guys in mid-year, whether it's you know, a high school guy or a transfer.
Eric McAllister,
Mhm.
what type of season is he having in practice? Was that a design to give him that shot early, and can we expect to maybe see more action moving forward out of that kid?
Yeah, and it's there's another example of a younger player that you know, has to continue to find his way and grow each and every week to be able to handle the responsibilities because he has the ability to do what we saw the other night, and that was really exciting. It was awesome to see him get in the game, get his opportunity, and go make a play like that. And as anything else, we want to keep growing, you know, and keep finding ways to get better to be able to put him in those positions. You know, that's a guy that can go down the field and stretch the field a little there for us. Thank you, guys.